The cock crowed over Umuaka village as the sun climbed slowly into the sky. Women bent over their mortars, pounding yam, while men set out with machetes slung over their shoulders for the farms. Children ran barefoot, laughing, the dust clinging to their ankles. Life in Umuaka beat like a drum, steady, predictable, alive. But in this ordinary village lived a girl who was far from ordinary. Her name was Nkemdilim, though most called her Nkem. She was her father Ogbuefi Aneni's only daughter, and her mother Ifeoma's pride. Her beauty unsettled even the most composed men. Her eyes were wide and bright like kola nuts fresh from their pods, her skin smooth as shea butter, and her laughter rolled like music through the air. Every festival, every gathering, eyes turned to her. But her pride was as tall as the Iroko tree. Suitors came with gifts of yam, goat, and palm wine. She mocked them all. "Do you think yam will buy me?" She scoffed at one. "Go back to your goats, farmer," she laughed at another. The elders whispered among themselves. "Pride leads to the market, but it does not buy goods," they said. Still, Kem laughed louder, believing fate would one day hand her a man richer than all of Umuaka combined. The festival of the new yam came, in the village square filled with song, color, and laughter. Drummers pounded their skins until the air trembled. Women carried calabashes of palm wine, children waved roasted corn, and men displayed strength with wrestling matches. Nkem arrived late, wearing an indigo wrapper embroidered with cowries. Coral beads clinked on her neck, and anklets jingled with each step. The crowd parted for her. The drummers struck a faster beat, and someone cried, "Let her dance!" She entered the circle. Her waist moved like the river's current. Her arms cut patterns in the air, and her feet stamped in rhythm. The crowd cheered. Young men rushed forward with gifts of yam and wine, eager to claim her heart. She only laughed. "Yam? Wine? Are these scraps for a child?" The suitors' faces burned with shame. The villagers muttered in disapproval. Her mother Ifeoma hid her face in her wrapper, but Nkem danced harder, her pride swelling with each cheer. She did not see the frown of an old woman watching her from the shadows. That night, as the festival fires died down, Nkem walked home with her friends. Laughter still clung to her lips when a bent figure stepped into her path. It was Mama Ohugo, the oldest woman in the village, known for her strange eyes and her whispers of prophecy. "My child," she rasped, leaning on her staff. "Your laughter is too loud. Do not mock men who come with honest hands. Pride burns quickly in the fire of fate." Nkem raised her chin. "Mama, I will not waste my youth on yam eaters. If the gods love me, they will send a man whose wealth flows like the Niger River." Mama Oyugo's cloudy eyes narrowed. "Be careful, child. Some gifts are wrapped in death." Her words clung to the night like smoke. Nkem tried to laugh them. That week, Nkem dreamed strange dreams. She saw a man dressed in white, his face hidden behind a mask of gold. He held out his hand and she followed him into a dark forest where bones lay on the ground. She always woke before she saw his face. Her mother noticed the shadows under her eyes. "What troubles you, my daughter?" Ifeoma asked. "Nothing, Mama," Nkem lied. But she told her friends, and they gasped. "Perhaps the gods are showing you your husband." Nkem smiled faintly. A husband who wore gold? Perhaps her dreams meant fortune. She dismissed her unease and told herself Mama Ohugo was just a bitter old woman. One evening, as the sun bled red into the horizon, a stranger entered Umuaka. He was tall, broad-shouldered, dressed in fine cloth that shimmered like silk. Around his neck hung beads no one in the village had ever seen. His voice was deep, smooth as palm wine, and when he smiled, women sighed. He brought gifts, baskets of fish, jars of oil, and a bag of cowries so heavy the young men struggled to carry it. "Who is he?" the villagers whispered. "Where did he come from?" Nkem's heart skipped. Here was the man she had dreamed of. Here was wealth, mystery, and power. When he looked at her, his eyes lingered too long, and Nkem, proud Nkem, finally felt her laughter fail her. The stranger's arrival stirred Umwaka like Harmattan wind over dry leaves. Children followed him through the market, pointing at his shining clothes. Women whispered, "Surely he is the son of a great chief." Men eyed him with suspicion. At the evening fireside, the elder spoke. "Who is his family?" asked one. "Where is his compound?" asked another. But no answers came. He gave his name only as Obioma, smiling as if that was enough. Nkem, however, was dazzled. Each day, Obioma found reasons to cross her path, bringing her palm wine, praising her dance, telling her she was the most beautiful in all the lands he had seen. Her friends giggled. "He is a lion, Nkem. Take him before another maiden does." Her mother frowned. "We know nothing about him. Beauty can hide poison." But Nkem silenced her mother with laughter. "Mama, is this not the man I prayed for? Wealth flows from him like water. Do not spoil my joy." The village gossiped, but Nkem's pride made her deaf. Among the young men of Umwaka, one suitor burned with fury. His name was Obina, strong as a wrestler and heir to a prosperous farm. He had long sought Nkem's hand, offering goats, yams, and his loyalty. But she mocked him. "You are a farmer, Obina. You will always smell of goats and sweat. I want a man of class." When Obioma arrived, Obina's shame deepened. He watched the stranger's wealth pile high, watched the maiden's eyes light up at his every word. Bitterness grew like weeds in his heart. One night, Obina confronted Nkem. "You will regret this," he warned. "This man hides something. I can feel it. You are too blind to see." Nkem laughed, tossing her braid. "Jealousy makes even a strong man small. Go back to your goats, Obina." His fists clenched. The drums of rivalry had begun to beat, though Nkem ignored them. The elders, unsettled by Obioma's mystery, sought guidance from the village oracle, a woman whose face was always painted in chalk, her voice echoing with unseen spirits. They carried kola nuts, a hen, and palm wine. After her chants and divination, the oracle's eyes glazed. "I see a shadow clothed in riches, a man who hides his face. He does not belong to the world of men. If a maiden joins him, her laughter will turn to screams." The elders shivered. "What must we do?" "Warn the maiden, warn her family, but whether she listens is in the hands of the gods." Words spread like wildfire. Mothers whispered prayers over their daughters. Fathers muttered curses under their breath. When Mama Ifeoma heard, her hands shook. She begged Nkem, "My daughter, please leave this stranger. The oracle says he is not of this world." But Nkem only tossed her head. Oracles fear what they do not understand. "Obioma is mine. He will be my husband." The seed of fate pressed deeper into the soil. One morning, Obioma arrived at Ogbofianeni's compound with baskets of riches. Palm oil gleamed in clay pots. Beads of coral shimmered like drops of blood. A cow, fat and restless, was tied at the gate. "I have come to ask for your daughter's hand," he said in a voice smooth as silk. Anini hesitated. The wealth tempted him, but unease gnawed at his gut. "We do not know your family," he said. "My family is far," Obioma replied, smiling, "but my love is near." Nkem clasped her father's hand. "Papa, say yes. Is this not the husband I deserve?" If a man has one daughter, his heart softens easily. With a sigh, Anini nodded. "Then let the marriage be arranged." The compound erupted with noise. Some villagers cheered, others muttered. Mama Ifeoma wept silently, knowing a storm was coming. The days that followed buzzed with excitement. Women prepared palm oil soup and slaughtered goats. Drummers tuned their skins, waiting for the day they would thunder through the air. The village square was swept, decorated with palm fronds and bright cloth. Nkem's friends rubbed camwood on her skin, braided her hair, and whispered of her fortune. "You will be the envy of us all," they said. But behind the laughter, the whispers of fear grew. The oracle's warning had not been forgotten. Mothers held their daughters close, muttering, "May the gods protect us." At night, Nkem dreamed again the masked man, the forest of bones, the silence of birds. Each time she woke, her chest heaved. Her wrapper clung to her with sweat. Yet by daylight, Obioma's smile washed away her dread. The wedding day approached like a storm cloud, beautiful, but heavy with something unspoken. The sun rose golden, casting its blessing over Umuaka. Drums thundered from early morning, echoing across the hills. Villagers arrived in their finest wrappers and beads, eager to witness the most talked-about wedding of the season. Nkem sat in her mother's hut, her face painted with uli designs. Coral beads circled her neck, her wrists, and her ankles. Her friends fussed around her, singing teasing songs. Ninkemdilim, wife of a rich man. Ninkemdilim, the envy of all maidens. Her mother, however, sat quietly in a corner, her eyes red. "My daughter," Ifeoma whispered, "I beg you, if your heart trembles, listen to it. Riches cannot buy peace." Nkem smiled faintly, brushing away her tears. "Mama, today is my day. Nothing will spoil it." In the square, Obioma stood tall in flowing cloth, his face radiant, his gifts piled high. The people cheered as Nkem emerged, a dazzling bride. The wedding was sealed with palm wine and kola nuts. Dancers filled the square. Gunshots cracked the sky. The feast lasted till the sun sank, but beneath the joy, shadows gathered silently. As evening fell, Obioma announced, "It is time to take my bride to her new home." The villagers cheered, though some mothers clutched their children tighter. Nkem's friends hugged her, giggling, "Write to us when you are bathing in riches." Her father blessed her with a shaky smile, though unease gnawed at him. Her mother pressed a white cloth into her hand. "Keep this with you, child. When the night is too dark, remember home." With drums escorting them, Obioma and Nkem left Umuaka. As they passed the last compound, the drumming stopped, replaced by the whisper of night insects. The road narrowed, swallowed by tall trees. The air grew heavy, colder. Nkem held her husband's hand, but her heart pounded. Behind them, the voices of her people faded until only silence walked with them. The forest loomed, dark and endless. The moon's pale light filtered through twisted branches, making strange shadows dance. At first, Obioma spoke sweetly, telling Nkem of the great wealth that awaited her. But as the journey deepened, he grew silent. His steps echoed unnaturally, too heavy, as if the earth trembled under his weight. Nkem tried to sing softly to ease her fear, but the sound was swallowed by the trees. Even the crickets had stopped. Her wrapper clung to her with sweat. The white cloth her mother gave her slipped from her fingers, but she quickly grabbed it again, clutching it as if it carried power. "Obioma," she whispered, "how much farther is your home?" "Soon," he said, though his voice seemed to rumble from the ground itself. Her chest tightened. For the first time, Nkem wondered if Mama Oyugo's warning was not the rambling of an old woman, but a prophecy. The deeper they went, the stranger the path became. Bones littered the ground, first small ones like those of goats, then larger ones, cracked and bleached white. Nkem gasped, "What is this place?" Obioma only smiled, his teeth gleaming, too sharp in the moonlight. "A place where riches are made." Her heart pounded. She glanced at the trees, but their branches bent low, as if trapping her. The forest seemed alive, watching. Her legs trembled, but pride kept her silent. "I am his wife now," she told herself. "I must not fear." Yet when an owl hooted and its sound echoed like a scream, she nearly fainted. She held the cloth tighter, whispering, "Mama, protect me." Obioma walked faster, and she was forced to follow, though every step carried her deeper into dread. At last they reached a clearing. There stood a compound, but it was no ordinary home. Its walls were crumbling mud, its roof patched with palm leaves, and scattered everywhere around it were bones. Human bones. Some still draped in torn cloth. Skulls stared with hollow eyes. Nkem froze. "Obioma, what is this?" The man turned slowly. His rich garments slipped from his shoulders. His broad chest cracked, his skin peeling away like dry bark. Beneath, the gleam of a skull shone white in the moonlight. Inkem screamed. Her husband's handsome face had vanished, replaced with the empty grin of death itself. "Wife," the skull hissed, its hollow eyes burning. "Welcome home." Inkem's knees buckled as the truth stared at her. The man she had boasted about, the man she had begged her father to approve, was nothing but a skeleton cloaked in lies. His skull gleamed, jaw rattling, as if laughing at her terror. She stumbled backward, clutching the white cloth her mother had given her. Her voice trembled. "You deceived me!" The skull only tilted its head. "You longed for wealth. You mocked men of the earth. You chose me, maiden. Now you belong to the world of shadows." The ground seemed to shiver beneath her feet. Bones rattled around her as if unseen hands stirred them. A cold wind blew, carrying the stench of decay. Inkem's pride shattered like clay in fire. For the first time in her life, she wished she had listened. The skull clapped its bony hands. Instantly, the bones on the ground began to move. Skeletons rose, their hollow sockets glowing faintly. They formed a circle around Inkem, clattering and swaying in a grotesque dance. "Dance, wife!" the skull commanded. "Dance for your new family." The drums she had once loved to hear in Umuoka seemed to echo faintly, twisted, as if the spirits mocked her. Inkem's legs trembled. She could not move. Tears streamed down her face. "I am not yours," she cried, clutching the cloth tighter. The skull's grin widened. "Too late, child. Your laughter bought your cage. Pride sealed your fate." The skeletons advanced, their jaws opening and shutting as if whispering curses. Kem shut her eyes, praying desperately to the gods she had ignored. As the shadows closed in, Inkem felt warmth in her hand. She looked down. The white cloth her mother had given her glowed faintly. Its light spread, pushing the skeletons back. They hissed and stumbled, their bones falling apart where the glow touched them. The skull shrieked. "What is that?" Inkem's heart leapt. "It is my mother's love. It is the blessing of home." Holding the cloth high, she shouted a prayer. The glow expanded, forcing the skeletons to crumble into dust. The skull staggered, its grin faltering. With a scream, Inkem turned and ran into the forest, the cloth blazing a path before her. The trees bent away, opening a road. For the first time, the forest seemed to fight on her side. But death is not so easily defeated. Behind her, the skull roared, its voice shaking the ground. Bones rolled together, reforming into monstrous shapes that gave chase. Inkem's feet pounded the earth, thorns tearing at her wrapper. Her breath came in ragged gasps, but still she ran, clutching the glowing cloth to her chest. "Come back, wife," the skull bellowed. "You cannot escape me." Branches whipped her arms, stones bruised her feet, but fear gave her wings. She darted left, then right, dodging shadows that clawed for her. She stumbled once, falling hard. The skull loomed close, its hollow eyes burning, but the cloth flared, blinding it long enough for her to rise again. Tears streamed down her face as she whispered, "Mama, Papa, gods of the land, help me reach home." At last, the first fingers of dawn touched the forest. Light pierced the darkness, and with it came hope. The skull shrieked, its bones rattling violently. The spirits that followed it began to crumble, unable to withstand the sun's gaze. Inkem burst from the trees, her feet striking the familiar dust of Umuoka. Villagers gathering water gasped and screamed at her torn wrapper, her bloodied feet, her wild eyes. Her mother rushed forward, catching her before she collapsed. "My child!" Behind her, the skull staggered at the forest's edge, but the sun rose higher. With a final scream, it dissolved into dust, carried away by the morning wind. Inkem sobbed in her mother's arms. Her pride was gone, her laughter hollow. She was alive, but forever changed. And the village of Umuoka knew, the bride who mocked honest men had almost become the wife of death itself. The square of Umuoka filled quickly as word spread. Inkem has returned. Mothers left their pounding, men dropped their hoes, children abandoned their games. They gathered to see the once proud maiden, now trembling like a leaf in the Harmattan wind. Her wrapper was torn, her coral beads broken, her face streaked with tears. She clutched the glowing white cloth as though her life depended on it. Her father, Ogbefianana, pushed through the crowd. "My daughter," his voice cracked as he saw her state. "What happened?" Nkem fell to her knees, clutching his feet. "Papa, forgive me. I mocked the wisdom of elders. I disobeyed the oracle. I chose wealth and nearly became the wife of death itself." Gasps filled the air. Elders exchanged grave looks. The story was not just hers anymore. It was a warning for all. That evening, the council of elders gathered under the Iroko tree. The village fire blazed, its sparks rising into the night. Nkem sat in the center, her head bowed, her voice trembling as she recounted everything: the stranger's arrival, the oracle's warning, the forest of bones, the skull's reveal, and her desperate escape. When she finished, silence held the air. Then Ogbefi Okori, the oldest elder, spoke. "This is what happens when pride blinds the heart." She mocked honest men and chased shadows. Let her story be carved into our memory. The oracle herself was summoned. With chalk on her face, she nodded. The gods gave warning, but it was ignored. Still, mercy was shown. Let her life be the lesson. The crowd murmured in agreement. Among the crowd stood Obina, the rejected suitor. His arms were crossed, his jaw tight, but his eyes softened as he looked at Nkem. She had mocked him, humiliated him, but now she sat humbled, broken, alive only by grace. Obina stepped forward. "Let her live. She has suffered enough. May this tale teach us all." Nkem lifted her eyes, tears brimming. "I wronged you, Obina. Forgive me." He nodded slowly. "I am not your judge. Life itself has judged you." The villagers whispered. The rivalry was over, but the scar remained. In the weeks that followed, every maiden in Umuaka was warned with Nkem's story. Mothers told their daughters, "Do not mock honest hands. Do not despise small gifts. The man who tills yam may give you peace, while the man with gold may lead you to death." Girls who once giggled at poor suitors now paused to think. Boys who once felt shame in their poverty now lifted their heads with pride. Nkem became a silent teacher. She no longer boasted or laughed at suitors. She walked quietly, helping her mother, carrying water, grinding pepper with the other women. Her beauty remained, but it was no longer her crown. Months passed. The memory of the skull spirit faded, but the lesson never did. Nkem lived quietly, her pride broken, but her heart softened. One evening, during another festival, she sat among the maidens but did not dance. Instead, she watched, remembering. Obina, now preparing to marry another, walked past her and nodded respectfully. Her mother placed a hand on her shoulder. "My daughter, you are alive. That is enough. Let your story guard generations." And so it was. Whenever the young mocked honest love, the elders would say, "Do you not know of the bride who married death itself? She laughed at wisdom, and it nearly cost her soul." Nkem's tale became more than a story. It became a proverb, a warning, and a light. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this story, hit that like button and subscribe for more timeless tales. See you next time.